So Upland is on the brink of what might be its biggest evolution ever, the birth of a real, living economy. If you're a property owner in Upland, everything you thought you knew about what your assets can do, well, it's all about to change. Let's dive in and break down exactly how your digital land is about to come alive.
You know, for the longest time, property in Upland has been about a few key things, right? Location, being part of a cool collection, maybe some visual development. But what if it could be something more? What if that land you owned could actually become an active part of the world?
And that's really the core idea behind this whole massive update. The goal here is to transform Upland from a world that you just own a piece of into a world that you actively build, a world that breathes, that produces, and that evolves, all based on what you and every other player chooses to do.
This really is a fundamental shift in philosophy. We're moving away from a static model of ownership and into something that is truly, constantly dynamic.
Okay, so here's the crucial point. Before, developing your property was, well, it was mostly for looks. It was visual. Now it's becoming a genuine economic engine. What you build, how you develop that property is going to directly decide what it produces and how it plugs into the entire Upland economy. Your properties are, for the first time, about to get a job.
All right, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? What are the nuts and bolts? Well, it's all built on 3 core pillars, something called STEM, Troves, and recipes.
First up, we've got STEM. The easiest way to think about this is like the fuel for the economy. Now, it's designed to be account-bound and inflationary, and that's on purpose. The goal here isn't scarcity. It's the exact opposite. The whole system is built to make sure as many players as possible can get their hands on STEM and actually participate in this new economy.
And don't worry, there are going to be plenty of ways to get it. I mean, sure, you can buy it in the store, but the real focus here is on earning it through gameplay. STEM is going to come from totem rewards, in-game events, daily logins, but the most sustainable way to get it will be through active play using the new Trove and farming systems.
And that leads us right into the next piece of the puzzle, Troves. These are the fundamental raw materials of this new economy. You can think of them as resources that are being generated constantly, all across the map, which basically turns the entire world into a source of ongoing opportunity.
And what's so cool about this is the sheer variety of where these things come from. Troves won't just come from one specific activity. No, they'll be generated by everything from the decorative plants on your property to your buildings and even your vehicles. Even existing activities, like fishing and trade routes, are going to start producing them. It's a system that's really designed to reward every single type of player.
Okay, but here's a really important distinction you need to get. Not all troves are created equal. Certain plants, like fruit trees for example, they produce what are called resource troves. Now these are special because you can actually take them to a supermarket structure and exchange them directly for STEM. All the other troves, though, have a different, but just as important purpose. They're the ingredients for recipes.
So, you've got all these materials, all these different troves. What do you actually do with them? Well, that's where recipes come in. If STEM is the fuel and troves are the raw materials, then recipes are the blueprints. This is the system that lets you combine different troves into new, valuable items that are absolutely essential for moving forward in the game.
Let's walk through a quick example just to make this crystal clear. Let's say you go out and you collect some wheat troves and some milk troves. You take those raw materials to a bakery that another player owns. The recipe at that bakery lets you combine them into a bread trove. Now, this isn't just a new collectible sitting in your inventory. That bread trove might be the exact item an Uppie needs. When you fulfill that request, that's how you befriend and actually mint that Uppie. See how it all connects? Basic resources lead directly to major game progression.
Okay, so now that we've got the basics down, STEM, troves, and recipes, let's talk about your active role in this new economy. Because it's no longer just about owning, it's about building, developing, and farming.
I mean, this quote from the development team really says it all. The days of just building a structure because it looks cool are pretty much over. How you choose to develop your property now has a direct, measurable impact on what it produces and the kinds of opportunities it creates for you.
And the impact of this is, well, it's huge. An undeveloped, empty property will generate a base level of troves. But as soon as you start developing it, building on it, that rate, the quality, and even the rarity of the troves it produces goes up significantly. It creates this amazing feedback loop. Better development means better output, which in turn draws more players and more activity to that property.
Now, if you want to really scale up your production, especially for those stem-bearing resources, you're going to want to look into dedicated farming. This is way beyond just planting a decorative tree. We're talking about creating high-volume, reliable sources of key resources like wheat, corn, apples, and grapes. This makes farming one of the most direct and consistent ways to generate STEM.
So all these new production systems are already going to make the world feel way more dynamic. But the next step in that evolution, well, this is what truly brings it to life. We're talking about the introduction of animals.
And this is where things get really, really cool. I mean, we're not talking about static JPEGs here. These are going to be visible 3D animals actually moving around on the map, and they'll be directly tied to the properties and the farms that produce them. It's a massive leap forward, both visually and economically.
And their role in the economy is absolutely critical. You'll earn them through specific recipes at farming structures, and then they in turn will produce their own unique troves, like milk, wool, and eggs. These new ingredients will then fuel even more advanced and valuable recipes. And the vision doesn't even stop there, with plans for pets and even breeding mechanics further down the line.
All right, for our final section, let's pull the camera back a bit. Let's see how all of these different pieces, the troves, the recipes, the farming, the animals, all come together to create one big, cohesive, player-driven economy. And if there's one thing you take away from all of this, it should be this. None of these systems exist in a vacuum. They are all, every single one of them, designed to feed back into the absolute foundation of Upland, which is your property. What you own and what you choose to do with it is now more important than it has ever been.
And you know, the really beautiful result of all this complexity is player choice. All of a sudden, there are so many more viable ways to play and succeed in Upland. You could be a pure property trader, a master developer and builder, a huge-scale farmer, a crafter who masters the most complex recipes, or even just an explorer, hunting for rare troves. All of these playstyles are now valid, and crucially, they all support each other.
So as we wrap this up, the final thought I want to leave you with is this. Your property is no longer just a plot of land on a map. It's now a node in a living, breathing network. It's a factory. It's a farm. It's a workshop. It's an engine of opportunity. So the only question left is, what will you create?